For a long time, I told myself this was just harassment. Annoying, disturbing, but temporary. I didn't know yet that my life was already being rearranged around someone else's obsession. I had dated him for less than a month. Nothing dramatic, nothing serious, just long enough for him to decide that I owed him something I never agreed to give. At first, it was contact, calls that didn't stop, messages that arrived faster than I could read them, paragraphs, pages, entire essays about why I was wrong for stepping away, about how misunderstood he was, about how cruel I was for not trying harder. When I stopped replying, the tone changed. He stopped asking. He started demanding. He showed up outside my building before sunrise, standing there, waiting, as if persistence was proof of love. When I blocked him, he found new numbers, new accounts, new names. Sometimes he pretended to be strangers. Sometimes he sent strangers to speak for him. Once, a man called me, clearly uncomfortable, clearly confused, after being told to contact me for a favor. When I explained what was really happening and showed him proof, he called the police on my stalker instead. My stalker ran. He always ran. After weeks of this, the threats started. Detailed, confident. He told me he could kill me and leave the country, that no one would stop him, that restraining orders were just paper, that he shouldn't have to force me to stay in his life, but that he would. I stopped sleeping. I stopped feeling safe in places I had lived for years. My neighbors noticed him pacing outside, watching the doors, waiting for lights to turn on. They complained, not about him, about me. I was evicted because my fear made other people uncomfortable. I applied for protection. I was granted it, and days later, he sent me a photo of the notice left on his door by the sheriff, along with a message mocking me for thinking it mattered. He avoided service. Just like that, the protection vanished. I moved. I didn't tell anyone. I changed routines. I tried to disappear. It didn't stop him. He told me he would find me, and if he couldn't, he would find my family instead. Then he proved it by sending me directions to my mother's house, a place he had never been, a place he should never have known. He impersonated people, my landlord, strangers. He sent links designed to track me, to pull information from a single click. When I realized what he was doing, I changed my number, deleted accounts, removed photos, erased years of my life from the internet. That only made him angrier. He recreated himself again and again, dozens of accounts, platforms I didn't even use anymore. He followed people from my past, people I hadn't spoken to in years, as if proximity could summon access. One day, a package arrived, empty, addressed to my old home, marked "Do Not Forward, Address Correction Requested." I understood exactly what he was trying to do, and I felt sick. Then he escalated. He created profiles using my photos, my name. He threatened my family. When I didn't respond, he posted intimate images to punish my silence. I reported everything. Slowly, accounts came down. Slowly, he adapted. One night, I woke to pounding, fists, a doorbell ringing endlessly. I looked out the window and saw him, right there, at my door. The police came. He ran, again. The reports piled up, so did the warnings that nothing could be done until he actually did something. The emails that followed were worse. He demanded meetings. He described what he would do when I refused. Explicit, violent, confident. I began preparing for the moment no one wanted to imagine. I slept lightly. I barricaded doors. I learned how to move in fear without freezing. The night it happened, I was asleep. A chair was wedged against the door, like it had been every night for weeks. The sound was unmistakable. Wood splintering, a door giving way. Force. I woke instantly. There was no confusion, no hesitation, only survival. I heard him struggling with the barricade. I moved without thinking, up the stairs, positioned, focused. I fired. Twice. The scream was shock, disbelief, rage interrupted by consequence. Police came fast this time. Dogs found him hiding nearby, bleeding, alive, and finally not running. I sat shaking while they took him away. Guilt, relief, terror, all tangled together. I survived. That truth felt unreal for days. Afterwards, the world had opinions. They always do. People asked what I should have done differently. People imagined alternatives from the safety of distance. They talked about warnings. They talked about restraint. They talked about theory. I talked about reality, about fear that doesn't end, about living with death as a scheduled possibility, about doing the only thing left when all others fail. Months later, I am still here, still rebuilding, still learning how to sleep without listening for footsteps, still carrying scars no one sees. But I am alive, and that matters more than being polite ever did. I survived because I stopped believing that silence was safety. I survived because I learned that not every threat looks dangerous at first. I didn't leave because I stopped loving him. I left because I wanted to stay alive. At the beginning, he was careful, not gentle, but controlled. He didn't hit, he corrected. He didn't yell, he explained. Everything was always my fault, but never loudly enough for anyone else to hear. The first bruise came with an apology. The second came with a reason. The third came with silence. That was when I learned how violence evolves. It doesn't arrive all at once. It arrives after you've already been trained to doubt yourself. I stopped telling people what was happening, not because I was ashamed, but because explaining felt more dangerous than staying quiet. He monitored my phone, my schedule, my tone. He decided when I was tired, when I was dramatic, when I deserved forgiveness. Survival became routine. I learned which words made him calm, which silences made him angrier. I learned how to fall without hitting my head, how to cover bruises with long sleeves and normal smiles. The breaking point wasn't the worst injury. It was the moment I realized I was planning my future around avoiding his moods. I saw myself disappearing, slowly, efficiently. That night, I packed a bag while he slept. Not everything, just enough. I didn't leave a note. Notes invite questions. I went to a place he didn't know. I turned my phone off. For the first time in years, I slept without listening. Leaving didn't make me brave. It made me scared in a new way. But fear without violence felt survivable. The days after were quiet, too quiet. I learned that peace can feel unfamiliar after chaos. I learned that safety takes practice. I rebuilt slowly. A job, a room, locks that worked. People asked why I stayed so long. I never answered, because survival doesn't follow logic. It follows timing. I don't tell my story to prove strength. I tell it because I lived, and sometimes surviving is the bravest thing a person ever does.